The day had been long and exhausting for the FBI director. Meetings had stretched on for hours, each one filled with reports, updates, and critical decisions that weighed heavily on the mind. As the sun dipped behind the horizon, casting a warm golden glow across the suburban streets, the director finally felt a moment of relief. It was time to head home, to take a break from the constant pressures of overseeing federal operations and simply breathe. The drive was quiet. The streets were lined with trees just beginning to show the first signs of autumn, and the occasional streetlight flickered on, casting a soft, calming light on the asphalt. The director drove slowly, enjoying the calm, listening to the hum of the tires on the road. In these moments, it was easy to forget the weight of the position, to feel like an ordinary person simply making their way home. Suddenly, a flash of red and blue appeared in the rearview mirror. At first, it was just a light, something that could easily be ignored, but as the siren sounded, it became clear that it was an official signal. The director pulled the car over immediately, rolling to a stop on the side of the road. The heart rate quickened, not from fear, but from the sudden shift from calm to alertness. The mind began to run through all possible scenarios. Was it a routine traffic stop? Was there a mistake? The officer approached cautiously, the glow of the patrol car's lights reflecting in their eyes. They asked the usual questions, keeping a hand near their belt. The director complied calmly, reaching for the requested documents with a steady hand. But as soon as the identification was handed over, the situation shifted. Something in the officer's demeanor changed. The way they held their body, the sudden tightening of their grip on their firearm. Within seconds, the officer had drawn their weapon, pointing it directly at the director. Time seemed to slow. The director's heart raced, not with panic, but with the awareness of how fragile life can be in moments like this. One wrong move, one misunderstood gesture, and the outcome could have been catastrophic. Yet, despite the fear, the director remained calm, understanding that any sudden movement could escalate the situation further. The officer's voice was tense, shaky even, as they demanded an explanation. The director carefully explained their position, their role in law enforcement, and presented credentials clearly. The words were steady, measured, intended to convey honesty and authority without provocation. Around them, the quiet street seemed to hold its breath. A few neighbors peeked out of windows, curious and concerned, sensing that something serious was happening. Minutes stretched into what felt like hours. The officer, unsure, radioed for backup, their tone betraying uncertainty. Each second was charged with a mix of fear and anticipation. The director continued to speak, providing more details about the work and responsibilities, emphasizing that there was no threat. The calmness was deliberate, a strategy to prevent the situation from escalating further. Meanwhile, the mind of the director wandered through all the possible outcomes. In countless scenarios during training, in simulations, in crisis drills, there had never been a situation exactly like this. No protocol could fully prepare someone for the vulnerability of being held at gunpoint while trying to prove that they were the very authority the other person feared. It was a stark reminder that no one, regardless of position or power, was immune to danger. Around them, a few cars slowed, drivers curious, some pulling out phones to record the scene. The presence of onlookers added another layer of complexity. The director was aware that the situation could be misinterpreted, that footage could be shared widely, and that each moment held the potential to escalate further if not handled carefully. It was a delicate balance of maintaining composure, providing information, and ensuring personal safety. The officer's movements were cautious, hesitant. Every gesture was measured, every command deliberate. They were acting according to training, according to the instinct to protect themselves and the public. But instinct and perception can sometimes clash with reality. Here, the reality was clear to the director, yet invisible to the officer. It was a moment of tension born from miscommunication and fear, amplified by the authority of weapons and the responsibility of roles. Finally, a breakthrough came. The officer radioed in, and confirmation came through the proper channels. The identity of the director was verified. The tension that had gripped both individuals began to dissipate, the atmosphere slowly returning to a semblance of normalcy. The officer lowered their weapon, stepping back with a mixture of relief and lingering tension. The director exhaled slowly, the release of fear washing over them, replaced by a reflective calm. As the officer continued to process the situation, the director stepped out of the vehicle, careful, deliberate, and still maintaining a respectful demeanor. There was no blame in their eyes, only an understanding of the high-stress environment the officer was operating in. Misjudgments can happen, and in moments like this, human error is a powerful force. The interaction that began as a routine traffic stop had turned into a profound lesson in communication, trust, and the human instinct for survival. It was a reminder that even those in positions of great power are vulnerable, and that authority alone does not guarantee safety or understanding. The director, while shaken, recognized the opportunity for reflection and learning, both for themselves and for the law enforcement community as a whole. By the time the situation concluded, the street had quieted once again. Neighbors returned indoors, cars resumed their normal pace, and the world continued as if nothing had happened. But for those involved and for those who would later hear the story, the incident was unforgettable. It illustrated the fragility of life, the importance of calm under pressure, and the need for clear communication and verification in moments of uncertainty. The director drove away slowly, the hum of the engine now comforting rather than ordinary. Thoughts ran through their mind about protocols, about safety, and about the unpredictable nature of life in law enforcement. It was a reminder that even in positions of power, one is never truly in control of every situation, and that human error can create moments of intense vulnerability. As the car merged back onto the main road, the director reflected on the lessons learned. Not about policy or procedure, but about humanity, the fear, the caution, and the instinct to protect oneself. It was a moment that would remain vivid in memory, shaping how future interactions would be approached, with empathy, patience, and a renewed understanding of human nature in high-stakes situations. By the time the home driveway came into view, the tension had eased, replaced by quiet contemplation. The director parked, stepping out of the vehicle, taking a deep breath of the cool evening air. It was a day that began like any other, but ended with a profound reminder of the unpredictability of life, the delicate balance of authority and vulnerability, and the enduring need for understanding and patience in moments that test the limits of human reaction and reason. After the tense moment on the side of the road, both the FBI director and the police officer were left to process what had just happened. The street had returned to its usual quiet, but the air was still heavy with tension. The director could feel a mixture of relief and lingering unease, knowing that such a misunderstanding could have ended tragically in just a few seconds. Driving slowly away from the scene, the mind was alive with thoughts about what had happened and why it escalated so quickly. The officer, still standing near the patrol car, took a moment to breathe and reflect. Their training had always emphasized caution, quick responses, and protecting themselves and others from potential threats. But even the best training cannot account for every scenario, and this situation had challenged every assumption they had made. It was a human moment, one that exposed fear, caution, and the dangers of snap judgments. Meanwhile, the director continued home, replaying the event in their mind. It was not just the fear that had stood out, but the sheer unpredictability of how quickly a routine situation could spiral. Every detail, from the flashing lights to the voice on the radio, seemed magnified now. Each gesture made during those tense moments had been critical. One false move could have changed everything. At home, the director took time to reflect more deeply. Sitting in a quiet living room, the adrenaline slowly faded, leaving space for contemplation. They considered the position they held and the trust placed in law enforcement officers across the country. Yet this incident reminded them that even people in powerful positions were vulnerable to human error. It highlighted the delicate balance between authority, responsibility, and human instinct. The next morning, the incident became a point of discussion at the FBI office. Colleagues gathered around, sharing their perspectives and offering insights. Some emphasized the unpredictability of real-life encounters, while others focused on how this moment could be used as a learning opportunity. The director listened carefully, valuing every viewpoint, understanding that analysis after the fact could provide important lessons for the future. News of the incident had begun circulating in local media and online. Videos captured by bystanders showed parts of the encounter, the flashing lights, the tense moments at the side of the road, and the officer pointing their weapon. Social media users debated what had happened, with some criticizing the officer's actions and others expressing sympathy for the high-stress decision-making that officers face in the field. The director understood the public's reaction, but remained focused on the broader lesson about communication, training, and human response under pressure. The officer involved was placed on administrative leave while the department conducted a full investigation. Supervisors reviewed body camera footage, radio communications, and witness statements to reconstruct the timeline of events. The department aimed to ensure accountability, understand the errors made, and determine how similar situations could be avoided in the future. It was a necessary process, one that sought fairness while addressing mistakes. During this time, the director remained engaged in the process, offering cooperation and providing testimony about the interaction. They explained the sequence of events, emphasizing the calm approach they had taken, the efforts to communicate clearly, and the need for verification. The director also recognized that fear and instinct play a significant role in the actions of individuals during high-stakes encounters, and these human factors had to be part of the discussion. The community, meanwhile, continued to react. Neighbors who had witnessed the event shared their perspectives, some expressing shock and concern, others empathy for both the director and the officer. The situation sparked conversations about trust between the public and law enforcement, and about the importance of clear identification and communication in potentially dangerous encounters. It became more than just a traffic stop. It was a moment that revealed the fragility of understanding and the human element behind authority and caution. In the following days, both the director and the officer reflected on the incident personally. The officer, reviewing their own actions, recognized the need for improvement in decision-making under pressure and in verifying situations before escalating. They acknowledged the fear that had influenced their behavior and the responsibility that comes with carrying a firearm. It was a humbling experience, a reminder of the serious consequences that split-second decisions can have. For the director, the experience reinforced lessons about patience, empathy, and understanding human error. It was a reminder that authority does not guarantee safety, and that trust, clear communication, and training are vital. They also thought about the broader implications for federal officers and the importance of preparing for unpredictable situations, even when off-duty or in everyday circumstances. The lessons were clear. Fear, instinct, and misunderstanding can converge in a moment, and the outcomes depend on calm, clarity, and communication. As the days went on, the FBI office organized discussions to address these issues in a constructive way. The director led sessions on situational awareness, communication strategies, and human response under stress. Colleagues shared their own experiences and brainstormed ways to reduce risks in similar scenarios. The focus was on learning, prevention, and empathy, ensuring that the lessons from the traffic stop would improve future interactions for officers and the public alike. The officer, now back at the station but under review, participated in retraining programs. They reflected deeply on the balance between caution and overreaction, the importance of verifying information before escalating, and the ways in which fear can cloud judgment. The department emphasized that learning from mistakes is as important as enforcing rules, and that human error, when addressed thoughtfully, can lead to improved practices. Throughout this time, both the director and the officer came to understand each other's perspectives. The director recognized the difficult job law enforcement officers have, the split-second decisions required, and the ever-present awareness of potential danger. The officer, in turn, understood the unique challenges faced by federal officials and the need for clear protocols to recognize authority without assuming threat. It was a rare moment of mutual reflection that highlighted humanity on both sides. The media continued to follow the story, but the narrative began to shift from sensationalism to a deeper conversation about accountability, training, and empathy. Commentators discussed the pressures of law enforcement, the human instincts that guide behavior, and the importance of learning from tense encounters. The public began to see beyond the immediate drama to the underlying lessons about communication, responsibility, and understanding. As weeks passed, the director resumed regular duties, now carrying with them a heightened awareness of the unpredictability of daily life. Even in the most controlled environments, one is never completely insulated from the consequences of misunderstanding. This awareness informed interactions with colleagues, local law enforcement, and even casual encounters, bringing a deeper appreciation for patience, clear communication, and the complexity of human behavior. The officer, after completing the investigation and retraining, returned to active duty with a renewed sense of responsibility. The experience left a lasting impression, shaping how they approached stops, verification, and communication. It also reinforced the importance of humility, reflection, and the willingness to learn from mistakes. Both the director and the officer had emerged from the incident with insights that extended beyond the immediate event, shaping their approach to professional life and human interaction. Ultimately, the traffic stop became more than a single incident. It became a story of human instincts, fear, authority, and learning. It highlighted the fragility of perception and the importance of patience and verification. For those involved, it was a personal and professional lesson, a reminder that calm, empathy, and reflection can prevent misunderstandings and save lives. The director and the officer both carried these lessons forward, aware that in every encounter, the human element is as powerful as the rules and training that guide behavior. The weeks following the traffic stop were a mix of reflection, analysis, and learning for everyone involved. For the FBI director, the event remained vivid in memory, replaying in thoughts like a slow-motion scene that demanded careful consideration. Every detail mattered, from the officer's body language to the way the situation escalated in mere moments. It was a reminder that authority and experience cannot always prevent misunderstandings when fear and instinct enter the picture. At the FBI office, the director held meetings to discuss the incident with senior colleagues. They wanted to ensure that the lessons learned were shared widely, not just within the immediate team, but across the broader federal law enforcement community. Conversations focused on the unpredictable nature of public encounters and the need for clear, calm communication. The director emphasized that even highly trained officers and officials could find themselves vulnerable in unexpected situations, and preparation was crucial. Meanwhile, the police department continued its internal review. Supervisors examined body camera footage, radio communications, and reports from witnesses and other officers. The goal was to understand the sequence of events and determine where judgment errors occurred. It was clear that the officer's response had been influenced by fear and uncertainty, but accountability was necessary to prevent similar incidents in the future. The officer involved reflected deeply during this period. They reviewed their training, thinking carefully about the choices made under stress. There was a recognition that fear can cloud judgment and that rapid decision-making, while essential in certain scenarios, can lead to mistakes when verification is insufficient. The officer began to understand the balance between caution and overreaction, the importance of communication, and the value of patience even in tense moments. In the public sphere, the story continued to gain attention. Local news outlets, social media platforms, and community discussions explored the nuances of the incident. Rather than focusing solely on the drama, many commentators began discussing the broader implications. The challenges officers face in high-stress situations, the importance of proper identification, and the human instincts that can drive both fear and caution. The director and the department recognized that this coverage, while intense, offered an opportunity to educate and foster dialogue about safety and understanding. At the FBI, workshops were organized to analyze the event in detail. Officers and officials participated in simulations, role-playing, and scenario-based training to better understand the dynamics of high-stakes encounters. The director shared their perspective, highlighting the human side of authority and the emotional impact of being vulnerable despite experience and position. Colleagues discussed strategies for de-escalation, the importance of verification, and the value of empathy in interactions that could otherwise become dangerous. The officer, during this time, also underwent additional training. Supervisors emphasized reflection, human behavior under stress, and decision-making processes. They explored how fear can influence actions, and how clear communication and verification can reduce risks. The process was not punitive alone. It was designed to improve safety for officers and the public, recognizing that mistakes often stem from natural human instincts rather than negligence. The director, though relieved that the immediate danger had passed, used the experience to consider broader policies. They examined how federal officials could be better protected in routine situations, how communication between federal and local law enforcement could improve, and how public awareness could contribute to safer interactions. Meetings with other agencies highlighted the shared challenges of authority, perception, and human error, fostering collaboration and practical solutions. Personal reflections continued for both the director and the officer. The director understood that fear, even when misdirected, was a powerful force, and that human behavior in high-pressure situations could not always be predicted. This awareness influenced future decisions, interactions, and guidance provided to colleagues. The officer recognized the gravity of their actions and the responsibility inherent in carrying a firearm, reaffirming a commitment to careful, measured responses in future encounters. As days turned into weeks, the public response gradually evolved. Community leaders, law enforcement advocates, and ordinary citizens engaged in conversations about trust, accountability, and communication. The story became a teaching moment for all sides, illustrating the complexity of authority, human instinct, and the importance of measured responses. It underscored the idea that even in positions of power, mistakes are possible, and learning from them is essential. In private, both the director and the officer took time to consider the emotional impact of the event. The director thought about vulnerability, fear, and resilience, recognizing that even the most experienced individuals are human and susceptible to danger. The officer reflected on responsibility, judgment, and the consequences of actions in split-second moments. Both acknowledged that the incident had changed their perspectives, providing insights that would inform behavior for years to come. The department's investigation ultimately led to disciplinary actions, retraining, and policy adjustments. The officer's suspension and subsequent training were framed not just as corrective measures but as opportunities for growth and improvement. The department emphasized transparency, accountability, and a commitment to safety, ensuring that lessons from the incident would lead to meaningful changes in practice. For the director, the experience became part of the narrative shared in discussions, workshops, and public speaking. They highlighted the human side of law enforcement interactions, the importance of empathy and patience, and the role of clear communication in preventing misunderstandings. The story illustrated that authority and experience are valuable, but awareness, calmness, and understanding human instincts are equally critical in maintaining safety. The aftermath of the incident also reinforced the significance of trust between communities and law enforcement. It demonstrated how quickly perceptions can shift and how fear can influence behavior, emphasizing the need for dialogue, training, and education. Both the director and the officer recognized that fostering understanding and learning from mistakes could strengthen relationships, reduce risks, and promote a safer environment for everyone involved. Through all this, the director returned to daily duties with a renewed perspective. Each interaction, each decision, and each moment of communication was approached with heightened awareness. The experience served as a constant reminder of the unpredictability of life, the power of human instinct, and the importance of calm, measured responses. It was a lesson that authority alone could not protect someone. Awareness, empathy, and clarity were just as essential. The officer also approached their role differently after the incident. Training, reflection, and guidance influenced their approach to interactions with the public. The experience reinforced humility, responsibility, and the understanding that fear can drive behavior in ways that are unpredictable but manageable through awareness and communication. Both individuals carried forward the insights gained, recognizing the shared humanity in moments of tension and the lasting impact of decisions made under pressure. Ultimately, the traffic stop became a story not just of misunderstanding and fear, but of learning, reflection, and growth. It highlighted the complexity of human behavior, the fragility of perception, and the importance of preparation, patience, and empathy. The director and the officer each took away valuable lessons, and the broader community gained a moment to reflect on the dynamics between authority, instinct, and accountability. The event, though tense and potentially dangerous, ultimately served as a catalyst for positive change, understanding, and improved communication in law enforcement. The weeks following the incident were filled with ongoing investigations, discussions, and reflections for both the FBI director and the police officer. The department's review process had been thorough, examining every detail of the traffic stop. Body camera footage, radio communications, and witness statements were analyzed carefully to understand how the situation escalated so quickly. The goal was to ensure accountability, learn from the mistake, and implement changes to prevent similar events in the future. For the director, the investigation was a reminder that even those in powerful positions are vulnerable to human error and miscommunication. They spent time considering what had happened from multiple perspectives: the officer's training, the instinctual fear, and the split-second decisions that defined the encounter. Every moment had been critical, and each decision carried the weight of potential consequences. The director understood the fear that drives actions in high-pressure situations, yet the experience reinforced the importance of ensuring that authority and identity are recognized without unnecessary risk. At the police department, supervisors worked closely with the officer involved. They aimed not only to determine accountability, but also to provide guidance and training for improvement. The officer's actions, while influenced by fear, were carefully examined to understand where judgment errors occurred. Discussions focused on the balance between caution and overreaction, the importance of verification, and the need to handle high-stress situations with clear communication and calm presence. The officer underwent extensive retraining during this period. Simulations, scenario-based exercises, and reflective sessions helped them understand how fear can affect judgment and how to respond effectively in uncertain situations. The training emphasized de-escalation, patience, and clear communication. It was not simply about correcting behavior, but about preparing for the unpredictable nature of law enforcement encounters and fostering a mindset that values safety, empathy, and understanding. The director, meanwhile, engaged with colleagues across federal agencies to share insights from the incident. Workshops and meetings explored strategies for identifying risks, communicating clearly in high-pressure situations, and ensuring safety protocols are followed even during routine activities. The director highlighted the human element in every encounter, emphasizing that fear, instinct, and miscommunication are natural responses that must be managed with patience and empathy. Public attention on the event continued. News coverage and social media discussions analyzed the actions of both the officer and the director. Some people criticized the officer's behavior, while others defended the need for caution. The discussion gradually shifted toward understanding the human side of law enforcement, the pressures officers face, and the importance of communication and verification. The director and department recognized that these conversations could be used to promote better training, awareness, and community engagement. Both the director and the officer spent time reflecting personally. The director considered how vulnerability can exist regardless of experience or authority. They thought about ways to approach future interactions with awareness, empathy, and calmness, ensuring that communication is clear and misunderstandings are minimized. The officer, in turn, reflected on responsibility, judgment, and the consequences of actions taken in the heat of the moment. Both recognized that mistakes, when addressed thoughtfully, can lead to growth and improved practices. At the FBI, the director shared their experience in training sessions with other officials. The story was used as a teaching tool to illustrate the unpredictability of encounters and the human factors that influence behavior. Officers were encouraged to think about fear, instinct, and communication as integral elements of safety. The director emphasized that authority alone cannot prevent danger, and that understanding human behavior is critical to maintaining security and preventing misunderstandings. The police department also implemented policy adjustments based on the findings of the investigation. Procedures for identifying federal officials were clarified, communication protocols were reinforced, and training focused on handling high-pressure situations was expanded. The goal was to ensure that officers are better prepared for unexpected encounters and that similar incidents are less likely to occur in the future. Accountability and learning were both central to the department's approach. The officer returned to active duty with a renewed perspective. The experience had reshaped their understanding of fear, responsibility, and the impact of split-second decisions. They approached stops with greater awareness, ensuring that verification and clear communication were prioritized. The retraining and reflection process had not only improved their skills but also strengthened their commitment to safe and effective policing. The officer recognized that mistakes are part of human nature, but learning from them can enhance safety and trust. For the director, the incident became a lasting lesson in humility and awareness. They understood that power and authority do not shield anyone from vulnerability. Each interaction, each decision, required thoughtfulness, calm, and empathy. The experience influenced their approach to both professional and personal encounters, reinforcing the importance of patience, clear communication, and understanding the perspectives of others. The director's awareness of human behavior under stress became a guiding principle in future actions. Community discussions around the incident evolved over time. People began to appreciate the complexity of law enforcement decisions and the human instincts that drive behavior. The story highlighted the importance of trust, accountability, and training, and it fostered dialogue about how communities and law enforcement can work together to prevent misunderstandings. Both the director and the officer contributed to this conversation by emphasizing learning, empathy, and the human side of authority. Through these weeks, the event became more than a traffic stop. It became a reflection on human nature, authority, and the delicate balance between caution and overreaction. Both the director and the officer had emerged with insights that extended beyond the immediate encounter, influencing how they approached professional interactions, decision-making, and communication. The lessons learned would inform policies, training, and personal conduct for years to come. Ultimately, the incident served as a powerful reminder that human instincts, fear, and miscommunication can create dangerous situations even in familiar settings. The director and the officer both recognized the value of reflection, accountability, and empathy. By addressing mistakes thoughtfully and implementing changes, the experience became a catalyst for growth, understanding, and improved practices in law enforcement. The traffic stop, tense and unpredictable, had transformed into a lesson that highlighted the importance of patience, awareness, and the human element in every encounter. After the officer completed retraining and returned to duty, life gradually moved toward normalcy. But the impact of the incident remained with everyone involved. The FBI director continued their work, now carrying a renewed awareness of the fragility of human perception and the unpredictability of encounters. Each decision, each interaction, was approached with heightened mindfulness, knowing that even routine situations could become complicated without careful communication and understanding. The officer, having experienced the full weight of accountability and reflection, approached every stop with renewed diligence. There was a deeper appreciation for the power of instinct and the influence of fear on decision-making. While their training had prepared them for numerous scenarios, the incident with the director provided a real-life lesson that could not be replicated in simulations. They recognized the importance of pausing, verifying, and communicating clearly before reacting, and this awareness shaped every interaction on the job going forward. For the director, the incident became a story shared privately with colleagues and during professional training sessions. It was used to illustrate the unpredictable nature of encounters, the human instinct that drives fear and caution, and the importance of calm, respectful communication. The director emphasized that even individuals with authority and experience are vulnerable in certain situations and that empathy, patience, and verification are vital for safety. The department's internal review concluded with a formal acknowledgement that the officer had overreacted, but it also highlighted the officer's commitment to learning and improvement. The suspension and retraining were framed not as punishment alone but as opportunities for growth, reinforcing the department's dedication to accountability, professionalism, and continuous improvement. Policies were adjusted to prevent future incidents, focusing on identification, verification, and communication with federal officials and other high-ranking individuals. Community reaction continued to evolve, with people recognizing the complexities of law enforcement and the human elements that affect decision-making. Public discussions emphasized understanding, empathy, and the importance of learning from mistakes. The story became a teaching moment not just for law enforcement officers, but also for the community, highlighting how fear, perception, and instinct influence actions and outcomes. It also prompted dialogue about trust, accountability, and the shared responsibility between citizens and law enforcement for safety and understanding. The director reflected on the incident's personal and professional lessons. It was a reminder of humility, resilience, and the human side of authority. They understood that no matter how experienced or knowledgeable someone may be, vulnerability is an inherent part of being human. This awareness influenced every decision, every interaction, and every conversation moving forward, fostering empathy, patience, and a deep understanding of human behavior in high-pressure situations. The officer, in turn, recognized the lasting impact of the incident on their professional identity. There was a new perspective on the responsibilities of carrying authority and the consequences of actions taken in moments of stress. The retraining and reflection process enhanced their judgment, communication skills, and situational awareness, making them a more effective and thoughtful officer. The experience served as a powerful lesson about accountability, growth, and the value of learning from mistakes. In the workplace, the incident became a part of broader discussions on training and preparedness. Workshops and seminars explored communication, human behavior under stress, and the importance of verification. Both the director and the officer participated in these sessions, sharing their perspectives and insights. The story highlighted the need for collaboration, understanding, and empathy in law enforcement, providing real-world lessons that could inform future policies and interactions. Over time, the traffic stop was seen not just as an isolated incident, but as a story with wider implications. It underscored the importance of human judgment, the role of fear and instinct, and the necessity of thoughtful, calm decision-making. The director and the officer each carried lessons forward into their respective roles, influencing colleagues, shaping policies, and reinforcing the importance of preparation, communication, and understanding in potentially high-risk situations. Both the director and the officer reflected on the emotional impact of the incident. For the director, there was an acknowledgement of vulnerability and the need for self-awareness. For the officer, there was recognition of responsibility, reflection on judgment, and the commitment to continuous learning. The shared experience, though tense and challenging, created an opportunity for growth, understanding, and improved practices for both parties. The media continued to reference the incident, but the narrative shifted toward constructive discussion. Analysts highlighted the lessons about human instincts, law enforcement pressures, and the need for empathy and verification. The public gained a deeper understanding of the challenges faced by officers and the unpredictable nature of encounters, reinforcing the importance of patience, communication, and awareness. The director resumed daily duties with a mindful approach. Every interaction became an opportunity to practice patience, empathy, and clear communication. They understood that authority alone does not prevent danger, and that human instincts must always be considered. The lessons learned informed future engagements with colleagues, local law enforcement, and the public, shaping a more thoughtful, cautious, and human-centric approach to professional life. The officer, too, approached their work with renewed dedication. The experience had instilled a greater sense of responsibility, humility, and understanding of human behavior. They applied the lessons from the incident in every interaction, prioritizing verification, calm communication, and careful judgment. The training and reflection process had transformed not just their professional approach, but also their awareness of the broader impact of their actions on community safety and trust. Ultimately, the traffic stop became a story of reflection, learning, and growth. It illustrated the unpredictability of human behavior, the power of fear and instinct, and the importance of patience, empathy, and clear communication. Both the director and the officer emerged with new insights, shaped by the experience and committed to applying the lessons in their professional lives. The incident, once tense and dangerous, evolved into a lasting example of accountability, human awareness, and the potential for growth that comes from confronting mistakes and misunderstanding. In the end, the story served as a reminder that even in positions of power and responsibility, vulnerability is part of being human. Authority alone cannot shield one from the consequences of miscommunication and fear. What matters most is the willingness to reflect, learn, and improve. For the FBI director and the officer, the traffic stop became a shared experience that informed their future actions, strengthened their understanding of human behavior, and reinforced the importance of empathy, patience, and careful communication in every encounter. The lessons extended beyond the incident, shaping policies, training, and interactions, and leaving a lasting impact on both individuals and the communities they serve.